everyone. Thank you for watching today. My name is Brittany, and you probably found our interview with Ryan Johns at my blog, pianoapen.com. I am so excited to have Ryan Johns interviewing with me today. He just released a new single, which we will be talking about later on in the interview, but let's just get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing right now.
Well, my name is Ryan, and I do a lot of music. I work for a church here in Atlanta, Georgia, called Atlanta West Pentecostal Church. My dad's the pastor, Daryl Johns. I'm a PK from birth. I was born in Jackson, Mississippi, and then I grew up mainly in St. Louis and then Atlanta. So that's about me. Right now, I'm just working. I do graphics, marketing. My role is production over everything at church: media, video, sound, audio, and then I do our youth music as well. So that's basically what I do right now.
That's exciting. Sounds like a lot of work too.
Oh, it is. It's a lot of work.
That's cool. So, how did you get into music and stuff? Do you come from a musical family, or what got you started singing?
My mom sings. My dad used to sing in a quartet. It's kind of funny. Back in Bible school, he used to go to JCM. I think he actually sang in a quartet with Dan Dean. I think he's now part of Phillips, Craig and Dean. My mom can play. My grandma can sing or could sing, and I've sang. I just liked it since I was little. I'm really shy, but that was the way I could kind of get out of my shell. So I started singing. I think my first thing I did was like a musical in St. Louis at New Life at about 5 years old. I think that was my first thing. I had like a narrator / singer role. It was pretty fun. So that's kind of where I got started.
That's awesome. So do you play any instruments as well then?
I do. I first wanted to play the drums, but my dad told me piano was the foundation for everything. So he let me take drum lessons as long as I took piano lessons as well. And then I ended up dropping the drums and went to the piano. But now I can play piano, bass, drums, guitar, and I play the mandolin if I have to.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So, yeah, I have a xylophone and an accordion and just every little instrument you can think of just to make noise.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, music is so awesome. And as far as I guess ministry wise, it's really helped you as far as just being involved in ministry and stuff. Is that your main avenue for ministry is music, or do you do anything else outside of that?
My main I would have loved for my main source of income to be music in my career, but in all actuality, there's just no way to support a family and really almost even the mainstream Christian music industry anymore. The people that can do that are few and far between. Most of them have jobs outside of that until they get, really famous. So I just made a career decision all the way back in college. I was doing vocal performance at a state university, and I switched over to marketing. So I have a degree in marketing and advertising, which I felt would go hand in hand with a music career.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of helped me out. I do a lot of my own graphics and web marketing, and not as much as I should, but my full source of income is the church salary and working full time there. So, and it gives me flexibility to do music on the weekends or during the week because I don't have I'm not a worship pastor on Sunday. So if I have to go out of town, if the boss lets me, I can go.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So as far as marketing yourself as a musician and stuff, I'm guessing that all of those skills have really come in because it's important to brand yourself too as a musician or an artist or whatever. So
yeah,
that's cool that you've been able to work those two things together.
It helps, and being creative and doing a lot of graphic design, that helps too. I've did my last I farmed out my first 2 album artworks to somebody else, and this last one I did it on my own, and just decided to save a little bit of money because it gets expensive.
Yeah, and it looks great. The album cover looked awesome.
Thank you.
So as far as writing songs, you just wrote this last single, right?
Right.
Okay,
right,
so how did you get started writing songs in general?
My first song, I kind of started writing songs out of necessity. I used to, in high school, I used to write poems, and I was awful. I look back at a few of them, and they're pretty bad, and they'll stay in the little book that I made, and and that was my avenue of writing and being creative and artistic. And then about 17, we decided to do a band. Our youth, some guys in our youth group, we got together. Hey, we're going to do music. You know, we loved DC Talk, and we loved all these Christian artists that were out, and so we started our own band. And we had a little event to play for our church. And I said, well, I'm going to write a song. So I sat down and wrote this song. Wasn't very good, but it was our song, you know. So it was called "Can I," and it was like a call to like a sinner saying, "Can I show you to a man named Jesus?" And it was pitiful, but it was people got behind us and supported us, knew we were trying, and we took off from there. And that's where I first started writing songs. That was my first song I ever wrote. So
That's exciting. I don't think any artist can look back and look at their very first thing and be so proud of it. You know, it's like, oh, at least that's where I got started.
Exactly. That's the foundation.
Yeah. So since then, you've been able to get involved in a lot of different events, whether it be youth events or other avenues, I guess. But I know, like Youth Congress. I think you've been involved in Youth Congress. You know, how did you first kind of break into being able to do stuff on a larger scale like that?
The first opportunity we got to do something larger, we started that band, and we did a few little events, and then we had a guy come into Atlanta, and he helped out, and his name was Shelly Hendricks, and he invited us to Houston, Texas, and we were not that good, and he let us come anyways, and we did a youth event there with a group from Georgia as well called Sons of David.
Oh, okay.
And they were like a third day kind of sound. They were from another Pentecostal church on the east side of town. So we go there, we do this event, and everything went great. Well, a guy named Glenn Woodward there was a thing back at General Conference years ago where they let on Wednesday night they let UPC artists sing a song. It was like one song. It was kind of like a song fest.
Oh, okay.
And someone that knew me asked me to do a song there, and so I sang "You Were There" by Avalon.
Yeah,
And
good song.
yeah, it was a good song. It was very hard, but I'm glad I learned it. I love the song. It's beautiful. I wish I wrote it. But that was my first time. Well, someone saw me there named Glenn Woodward, and he invited me to do a thing called Aqua Quartet out in San Diego to be a part of a CD DVD. And so I go out there, and I met the guy who produced. His name John Donosky, and I met him there. And then from there, it just kind of built and built and built. And then with my first youth congress, Jonathan Dean had seen me sing somewhere, and he was in charge of youth congress that year, and asked me to be involved. And I played guitar, which I wasn't very good at, and there were all these incredible musicians, and I didn't even know the number system, and I was scared to death. But they kind of took me under their wing, and I built some really good friendships. And then from then on, it's just kind of grown exponentially. So.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So your new single, when did you release it, and what's the title?
My single I just released. To be honest with you, I don't even know when I released it. It was a couple months ago. I think it was in August, and it's titled "Forever I Will Praise You," and it's my first official worship song that I've actually recorded. On my first album, I recorded 6 of the songs I wrote, but they weren't really worship. They were more driven for young people.
Yeah.
But "Forever I'll Praise You" is my first worship single. I love it. It turned out, it came out of nowhere, and I have a great team behind me that makes it sound really good, a lot better than it really was.
No, it's a great song. Are you trying to go more like with a worship style for the future then, or what are you thinking about that?
My goal, I started the album process in 2009. I released the first album, Breathe Again, in 2011, and my goal was I did worship everywhere, so I kind of disappointed some people because I didn't want my first album to be a worship album, because a lot of my friends would do that and they got labeled a certain way and they could never have any artistic expression in a different format.
That makes sense.
I took their ideas and what they wished they would have done and did my first one, which is more a youth album and a little more a conceptual album. And then as it progressed, I knew my next set of songs would be worship driven. So I've kind of had like a 5-year plan on it,
Yeah.
kind of making sure I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't know that was going to be the song. The song just came out of nowhere back in April, so
Well,
it
that's
kind of,
cool. So, would you
yeah.
recommend then for other artists that might be just starting out to do that as well, if they are like a worship pastor or worship leader in general, to maybe do something
Well,
less
if
worshipy, or
to me, if see, I grew up on DC Talk and Audio Adrenaline and Jars of Clay, and I loved Christian rock music, and that was I just loved it. So I wanted to do something that would let me do more concert-driven music, and I
okay,
knew it wasn't going to be a big market. So if they have that passion, that secret hidden agenda, like even if it wasn't rock, if it was jazz, or if it was, I would say get it out of the way, but don't expect to make a ton of money off of it. But because worship music that's what everybody connects with in the church world,
yeah,
is
that's
worship
true.
music. But yeah, that's what I would do. If they're just a worship pastor and that's all they write is worship songs, I would say just go with the worship music. So.
Okay, cool. Who have been, well, you've probably mentioned quite a few of them already, but as far as like your biggest inspirations is for your music and even for maybe ministry wise, who's been your biggest influence or inspiration?
My biggest worship influence, I just actually met him a few months ago, Israel Houghton, and it was an honor to meet him. And he's an incredible writer, first of all, and then he's an incredible singer, and that's kind of like what sets the bar for me with music. Is it has to have great music and it has to have great vocals.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, I can't really listen to it. It has to have a really good production quality behind it. And then my next two biggest groups for worship will be Passion, which has got Chris Tomlin. They write a lot of the contemporary songs. And then Hillsong United. Passion is a conference based out of Atlanta, Georgia. There's about 68,000 young people that gather in January, and they release an album every year. So that's where a lot of the
Cool.
contemporary songs come out of. And then Hillsong United, of course. I mean, they were the bridge between rock and roll and worship, and they did it so well with great lyrics and great music, and that was another one that got me.
So do you lean more than towards like a contemporary style of worship music, or do you have, an eclectic view of
Yeah,
interests or whatever?
I probably gear mostly towards Israel and
Okay.
New Breed, just because of the complexity of the vocals and the music. The other stuff like Passion, Hillsong, their vocals kind of get a little boring to me after a while, just because a lot of times it's low and I can't sing low, and it's not easy to deliver, and to me it's not as powerful. Now anthems, I always say take the fast music from gospel and take the slow music from contemporary, and you've got the perfect blend, because the ballads from contemporary music are just incredible.
This is
But then the
true.
fast songs, gospel music just tends to have a better feel about it. So that's what I try to do, is I try to bridge the gap. So.
So, also kind of going back to your single, has anyone else picked up your song as far as going to record it, or has
Hmm.
anyone ever recorded any of your songs?
Um, I have one artist that has um, recorded my song, the Forever I'll Praise You. She didn't get to release it yet, and so I'll just kind of wait until see what she's gonna do. I want to put her on the spot.
Yeah.
I actually did part of the vocals on it, and she actually recorded it before I did,
Oh,
but
really?
she ran into a little bit of a waiting to release it, and so I ended up releasing it first somehow. So um, it's been sang at quite a few churches. Kevin Howard, former music director for POA, has been teaching it at a lot of churches. He's been doing a lot of choir clinics, and he's been traveling now. And then Court Chavis has sang it. The Impact Woodlawn Church is the actual church that got the song started. I sent it
Yeah.
to Justin Conway. I said, hey, man, here's a song I wrote. What do you think? I need some help. Just want to see if it's good. shoot me down if you want. I just want to know. He said, I love it. I want to do it at our music conference. So they did it at their music conference, and it went over great. And so they did it at their big pastoral conference called Impact, and Court Chavis led it. And of course, anything Court leads, it's just going to go there. So it was incredible. Court did a phenomenal job, and so the rest is just kind of grown. I've got a few radio stations playing it in California that have been really nice. And it's just, and some internet stations have picked it up kind of through our choir. Some people that follow our choir have picked it up too. So.
Well, that's cool. How awesome is it to hear other people actually singing your music and being the one in the audience even? Like,
yeah.
I'm not even the one having to sing it. Someone else is doing it, and
I think that's the most fulfilling thing, more than making money and more than I haven't even paid the song off yet, but it's just to see people worshiping to something that you wrote out of your own worship experience. I was sitting in a house. I took a break for a few days, and some people in our church had a lake house, and they let me stay there. I was kind of burnt out, and so I took my guitar and I took my iPad and was reading some scriptures, and I came across Psalm 89:8, and it said, "Who is like you, Lord God Almighty? You, Lord, are mighty, and faithfulness surrounds you." And so I just started singing, "Who is like you, Lord, in all the earth?" And so I was like, this could kind of sound, and all of a sudden I just kind of was humming that around the house, and I was like, this could work for like a song. It kind of sounds like Israel. So I sat down, and in about 15 minutes I wrote the song. I didn't have a bridge, and I sent it to a friend of mine. I wanted to record it kind of properly, so I just sat down in I got a little home studio and recorded it, and in a musical interlude I started singing the bridge, which is kind of the same thing as the chorus or the verse, and it just worked. And so they said, let's just keep it. And so from there I hired a really good band, and they made it sound phenomenal.
That's great. So how did you connect then with like a studio, a producer, band? What all went into that recording?
Well, once I knew the song was going to kind of work, and I shared it with some family, and they're like, okay, my family has been my they kind of keep me in check. If it's not that good, they're like, eh. And if it's good, they're like, oh, it's great. They're honest with me. And
that's good, because I think most families are like, oh, everything you do is just wonderful.
Yeah, no, mine are nice, but they will tell me the truth, and I think that's what's made me able to do a lot of things, is because I've had people guide me and steer me in the right direction. But they've just done a great job. I had some friends. The guy I played at Youth Congress with, his name's Daniel Kinner. He actually produced the song, and the band, they were hired musicians, but the keyboard player is the music director for Mandisa, and his name is Ron Rawls. He's a phenomenal keyboard player. The guitar player is Luke Sullivan, and he plays for Mandisa as well. And they just kind of, Daniel had built a friendship with these guys in Nashville. He moved to Nashville. He used to be at Alexandria, Pentecostal's Alexandria, and he moved to Nashville to start a bigger studio business there. Okay. And the bass player, his name is Jacob Lowry. He plays for Michael W. Smith. And then, of course, the drummer is Daniel Kinner, and he plays for Phillips, Craig, and Dean right now. So I just told him, I said, here's what I want. I want it to sound like this. I want there to be guitars that kind of bridge the gap between contemporary and a little bit of gospel. And I said I want it to be singable. And we kind of missed the mark on a few things. It got a little complicated, but they just sat down and sent me back an idea, and I said, okay, that was incredible. And just they haven't failed me yet. They did my Christmas single, White Christmas. I did with my grandfather, and
cool.
It's kind of the same band, and it's a real jazzy, just Christmas song. I wanted to do it with him. He's 86 years old, and I just learned that when people are good at what they do, just let them do it. Yeah. And unless it's just something awful, you're paying them good money, and they're talented, and they know what the industry sounds like. Just let them go full force, and that's what they did. And it hasn't failed me yet. So.
Well, that's cool. As far as like connecting with those musicians and stuff, then I mean, these are people that play for other incredible artists.
Yeah.
That's really awesome that you're able to, I guess, connect with other people in the industry that are
Yeah.
professionals that are good at what they do and
Hmm.
kind of build, I don't know, a connection for you as well for the future.
Oh, it does, and it's kind of funny is because I've never met any of those guys but Daniel because everything is so accessible over the internet. You have to have somebody that can manage a project, and that was the big deal with me. Daniel Kenner is just managed. He takes care of my money whenever I get it to him. I know where it's gonna go. He's gonna do it on time. It's gonna all happen the way it's supposed to be. They're gonna get paid. I want to make sure that people that are helping me are taken care of. So
Yeah.
he's really done a good job, and maybe one day I'll meet them. I've kind of connected with them on Facebook, but they're artists. They need the money and they enjoy the music, and I needed the help, and so it's just like it's a good relationship, even though we've never really even met.
Yeah. So you also said that with your new single, you sent it to, I believe, Justin Conway,
Yes.
right? So would you recommend, I mean, if for other songwriters that have got praise and worship music, would you recommend them saying, hey, sending them to several maybe music directors or other music people, just can I get your input? What do you think? Is that something
Yeah.
that you would normally do?
Well, yeah, I would really recommend it. I would develop a relationship with them first. I wouldn't like cold call them and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey."
You don't know
Um,
me, but
One person I left out, and I can't believe I left him out. Sorry, Mark. Mark Condon. He's been very instrumental in helping me develop behind the scenes, and I've got his little worship book on worship songwriting or songwriting. I recommend it. I recommend breaking down songs, but Mark Condon has I sent it to him as well, and he actually bought it. It's on the iClub, so you can buy the loop and the like a click track, I believe, and then vocals and a few other things. Their church has done it, and he believes in me, and I sent it to him. He's like, "I think this is going to be your best song yet." And I was like, "Okay." When Mark says that, we're gonna we're gonna pursue it. So
yeah.
I would recommend sending it to the people, but I would also recommend to have a really thick skin, because you know if people are like, oh, it's just amazing, and the next and someone close to you is like, this is awful, then you don't want that relationship with people where they're just gonna pity you, and you're going to end up being the next American Idol failure or something where everybody's laughing at you. You don't want to be the emperor with the new clothes.
Yeah.
And, and I think that happens with so many families. They don't realize the damage they're doing to artists by not critiquing them. So be able to handle criticism is a really important thing to me. So
That's funny because even I always, my mom and my grandma are always the ones that are like, everything you do is just, great. And I'm like, okay, I know not to come to you guys because it
yeah,
could be the worst thing in the world and
yeah,
you would think it was
exactly.
awesome, but
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah, exactly. And that's exactly who you want to steer clear of if you want to put it out to the public,
Yeah.
and now there's forums on Facebook, and there's so many avenues. But I know this one kid on Facebook posts some stuff, and I just can't. And everybody's like, oh, it's amazing, it's wonderful, and I just feel so bad because he needs some lessons, and he's got potential,
Yeah.
and he's got a passion for it, but he needs to develop, and he's going to stay at a level that's right here because they keep saying he's so amazing when he could be a lot better. So
I actually just had that conversation with someone else too about kind of, I guess, a standard of excellence people don't
mhm,
really get to when they're constantly getting a pat on the back instead of
right,
getting that constructive criticism and people who help them grow and actually become amazing, songwriters or artists or whatever.
that's
Um,
exactly right.
so yeah, but and YouTube, it's such an awesome avenue, but at the same time, it's like you can have someone who's really not that great and they're getting the best,
hmm
comments and compliments from
Exactly.
people.
Yeah,
So,
YouTube can be good, and it can be awful. You can either get ripped to shreds, or you're going to get praised uncontrollably. So
yeah.
either disable the comments if you don't want the criticism, or I'm pretty careful with what I put out on Facebook, and I don't even like or on YouTube. I don't even like the quality YouTube provides for audio, so I limit that.
Yeah.
And I don't usually throw a lot of my songs out there for people. I've seen some people on forums say, "I've got a chorus line. Here's a chorus." And they'll put up a chorus. What about a verse? And then they get 50 people's inputs, and technically they owe them all
Credit.
writing credits. So you'd have 800 people on your album credit titles. I mean, and they technically, I couldn't imagine that. I was like, well, that song's not going to go anywhere. You get stuck in litigation or something.
Yeah.
So
I like sharing stuff, but at the same time, more like I put a couple of choruses out just for people that they're not going to go any further. It's like I
right,
wrote it for like an altar call or something, and it's like, hey, it's
yeah,
just a little chorus, enjoy it. It's never going to
mhm,
end up on a recording or something like that. But
yeah.
I totally understand where you're coming from there. Yeah.
I've done it with one song. I released one song. And it's called "Fall on Me," I believe, and it's on YouTube. I wrote it and at a Arkansas youth camp for an altar call. It was one of those. I'm sitting backstage, and I just had this idea that went along with his message. And I had Jeremy Guzman, who's like a phenomenal keyboard player, band arranger. He was the band director for Youth Congress this past year, and he's just so talented. And we work together on stuff behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
I'll send him some work, and he'll help me out. And he does all my charting for me for my albums and my music and chording. And I said, man, here's a song. I'm thinking a 1, 4 to 5, and so we started working out these chord structures, and we just got up there and started singing it, and it worked. And it's a really good altar call song. So I decided, I'm like, I'm gonna give this one out. I've been real stingy with the rest. I'm just gonna give this one. So I put the chords. I put copyright by me and Jeremy on the YouTube page, but.
Yeah.
And that kind of sets it in stone somewhat on the copywriting.
So generally, though, it seems like a lot more artists have really been using YouTube and putting more stuff out there,
hmm
and that's kind of helped their career kind of take off.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's probably like a balance. Maybe that they would just have to find a balance, or it could go either way.
Yeah, I think so, because I think it's a really good avenue for people that don't already do a lot. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not singing at youth conventions, or you're not being actively involved in a band or a music group that's traveling, I think it's great to get a good base before you even get started. I think that's a great way to break out as an artist. I wish we would have had it 10 years ago or 15
Yeah.
years ago when we were just getting started. But, and on that note, with people getting started, like, people always see, like, people at Youth Congress leading worship, or they don't see the 10 years that you spent playing in trailers and you name it. I mean, we've played everywhere. I mean, we've played outside in parking lots. I've played in churches of 5, churches of 2,000,
Yeah.
and then Youth Congress. And people don't ever understand, and they kind of neglect the small things
They
for
want to jump straight
dreaming
to
of
the big stage.
they do. They want to jump to the big stage, and they don't understand that it's the small things that get them there.
Yeah,
So
that's good advice. Very good advice. So as far as like the future, I know you just released a single, but do you have a future plan? I mean, is there anything that your fans or other worship departments can expect to get from you?
my next step, I'm getting married next week.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
thank
That's
you.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm marrying Kinsey Gurley from Houston, Texas, and we're getting married there. And then I'm taking a break till Christmas.
Okay.
No work for me. I'm gonna chill. I've not taken a vacation. I've just worked a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a break. And when I get back, she likes to sing too, and I've been writing a couple songs that will fit her voice. And I've got a piano. Our church had to move our grand piano out, and it's now in my dining room. So I have a baby grand piano in my dining room, which is amazing.
I bet.
So you sit down and instantly songs start coming to you. So I've got a few I'd like to release. Right now I'm doing Atlanta Youth Convention. I've got a great band for that. I'm doing PK bot for Because of the Times for the young people. I do that every year. And then who knows what's going to happen for the rest of the year. There's always big events at our church, and I'm hoping to kind of establish a few things over the next year and kind of relax, but also kind of write some material. That's kind of my goal. Maybe produce a song or two extra if something hits me that's just something I love. So.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Sounds like you've got a lot coming up then, even though you're going to take a break, I guess, for a little while. Getting married is a big deal, so that's
it's a big deal. It's
yeah.
like it's a concert in itself. I've got a great band coming. I've got, it's like for a wedding when you do music, you kind of have to set it up there pretty well. So I've got some incredible singers, people from Alexandria, some contemporary Christian artists that are out there. One of them's coming in and singing, and then my band is phenomenal. So I'm excited
really cool.
about it. So I pulled in some favors, and it's nice to have some very talented friends.
Yeah.
I count it an honor to have such talented friends.
So is your wedding going to be like a musical, or?
There's 12 songs. We're doing three before the wedding. I think there's three or four in the wedding and a few after at the reception. So we're kind of breaking it up, and the actual ceremony is going to go pretty quick. We didn't want to draw it out with a full-blown concert, but we'll do that afterwards. So we've got a lot of stuff happening. She's going to sing, I'm going to sing, and then we're going to sing together at the reception. Just have fun and enjoy music and enjoy friends.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It will.
Yeah. So before we end this then, is there any just last bit of advice or anything that you would like to tell our listeners or viewers today?
I would say just kind of reiterating what I said earlier. If you're a singer, you're a songwriter, musician, take the time to develop some friendships with people that can give you honest and critical feedback and even some criticism, but make sure it's constructive and from people that love you. And I would also recommend that anything that you do, don't take a small opportunity for granted, and because the small things always lead to the big things, and God will open doors, and it takes years. Don't think it's going to take a couple weeks and you're going to be at Youth Congress, but it takes years to develop who you are, and in God's time He'll take care of you, and He'll do it if it's what's right for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will be posting a clip of Ryan's single on the page here, and then I'll link to YouTube or to iTunes, I guess, as well, so you guys can go buy it. And
yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and thank you guys for watching.